Okay, and welcome back. So if you had the opportunity to follow along with my grounding video, the hike, going through the hike, being present in nature, and then a little bit of stretching at the top of that hike, awesome. But you got to come down from that hike. And so this is all about post-hike workout. So let's go ahead. We're going to start standing since we've just been hiking this whole time. And in the video, I had, for a moment, we were just doing a little stretch here. And so I'm going to ask us to start this way. Knees are gently bent, loosening the lower back again. This is one of my favorites. That's an easy to do, and it just feels so good. So remember that with grounding, and that's the intention throughout this series, one of the best ways I have found, at least for myself, to ground yourself is to go out into nature. Spend some time really being observant of and aware of the natural world around you can help us disengage from all that stress and horribleness that we might be living with. Okay, so let's come back into a nice neutral posture. Okay, and from here, we're going to start off with a little back bend. So we'll start pressing all our weight into all four corners of our feet. Really feel our knees soften, but our hips and our legs engage. And I don't mean we're holding on like this, no, but we are aware, we're present, we're mindful, and taking a moment in this Tadasana, feeling the weight pressing through our feet, rooting into the earth, our fingers reaching for the earth as well, opening up that heart space, maybe feeling the spine elongating. And then from here, pressing the mat away with our feet, inhaling the arms up overhead, extended mountain. This time, we'll interlace the fingers, point your finger out, and do maybe a little gentle back bend, if that feels good. And release. Let your hands come down behind the back, interlace the finger, reaching down. So this is very much like we did at the top of the hike. And then maybe shaking out the arms. Sometimes if we're really stressed, remember that somatic exercise of shaking the wrists and the hands. Okay, and then we're going to do a forward fold. So from here, standing, inhale, letting the chest lead the way, hands are on the hips or even behind the back if you'd like. Inhale, exhale, diving forward. And here in this posture, maybe the hands are on the hips, they stay on the hips, hips are behind the back, maybe feeling the pinkies pulling back behind you. Let your head become heavy, feel your neck elongating, stretching toward the mat, and breathe into the back of your legs. And I know that sounds really strange, but for me, that just means I'm going to take a few breaths and just really focus on observing what's going on in the back of my legs. No judgment, right? Okay, and release. And let's see where our hands get to. Maybe they're at the shins, maybe they're at the feet. And after a hike, you might find that when you used to be able to reach, you might not be able to now. So be gentle with yourself and forgiving. All right. Well, we are going to come up in just a second into a chair posture. So from here, I might bring my feet closer together. Again, pressing through the feet, zipping up the legs, and inhale, coming all the way up into our chair. So hips are back, knees are back off the toes, and we're reaching those arms up. Maybe they're overhead, maybe they're reaching out, whatever feels good for you. And release. We're going to come up to standing, and we did something similar, right? So standing, putting the weight on that left foot. Inhale the right knee up and to the sides. We're going to do a little tree pose just to get a little balance work in, calf or inner thigh. And if we get to the inner thigh, if we focus on pulling that knee back behind us, you may feel a little stretch. It's also good to regain our balance after a workout, but listen to your body. Because if you've done a long hike right now, you may find that your body is a little weak. So don't do a balance posture here. If you're feeling really super weak, you can have that foot down and just pull that knee out to the side, and that's totally fine. Okay, so from here, I'm going to step back into a high lunge. Just kidding, it's warrior one. So from our warrior one, just like what we did at the top of the mountain, we'll find our way back in here, inhaling the arms up overhead. Maybe breathing in and pressing into the hips, going a little deeper than we normally do, tucking that front knee. We'll continue into our warrior series here. Inhaling, exhale, warrior two. Tuck that front knee, feel the arms stretching. Oh, my legs are so tired from that nice long hike. All right, so from here, I'm actually going to straighten that front knee, bring in the back, and we're going to have that nice triangle again. Hands on the hips. We're going to switch our hips forward. Chest is now going forward, and we're going to do a little twist here. So from here, right hand goes next to the left foot or the shin, and inhale, left fingertips up. Getting a little stretching. And release. Okay, and coming up slowly, we're going to switch over to the other side. Okay, so you can just stay in that wide leg pose if you want to. Weight goes on the right foot, and bring your left foot up and out. But however you get there is how you get there. Okay. Feel that weight on the right foot, knee is gently bent, just like what we did before. Left foot can just stay right there at the ankle, knee is pressing out to open the hip. So this is more for the hip than it is for balance. So if you're feeling like you're really tired, don't add in that balance pose. But if you're feeling it, or if you have something to lean on, be gentle with your body, be kind, but keep the knee pulling back behind you just to get a little extra stretch in there. One more breath and release, stepping back into, again, warrior one. So check those hips, check your knees and your feet, and then arms up overhead. Inhale and exhale, maybe pressing into those hips a little bit more. Take another deep breath here, and then switching into warrior two. Back foot stiff, fingers stiff, but our hips really don't lie. No, they stay kind of in the same spot. All right, awesome. From here, we're going to release, and we're going to come down into a forward fold, wide-legged forward fold again. Why? Because it feels good. We're also going to come down into a malasana in a moment, but I invite you to just kind of move back and forth, left to right. Moving those feet in, heels come in, toes are out. You're a little bit, just barely wider than the hips. And we're going to come down in one more malasana. So we did a malasana at the top of the mountain, at the middle of our hike, but not enough, right? Never enough. And from here, we're going to release and do the rest of our postures on the mat, because we probably didn't want to do those postures in the dirt, right? So let's go ahead and we'll roll back onto our tuchus. I never used that word. I don't know why I decided to start using it now. Okay, so from here, we're going to reach those legs out. And from here, maybe point and flex a little bit. Again, warming up those ankles or cooling them down, I guess. If you can't straighten out the knees, you can always put support underneath the knees. But from here in our cane pose, inhale, arms up, and exhale, bending forward towards the toes. You might be at the shins, ankles, maybe you're using blocks, wherever you are is where you need to be. So remember that. As we're working on grounding, one of the things we have to remind ourselves is, as we ground ourselves, we need to forgive ourselves. We don't have to be perfect. There is no competition, even with ourselves. I know there's so many benefits to competition, but okay, let's release for just a moment. Don't worry, we're going to come back to it. And taking my fingers, I'm going to plant them, so fingers toward my hips, palms down, pressing through the mat. And if you need to, you could put a block behind you as well. But pressing through the mat, inhale, opening up the throat chakra. your heart space. Don't let your neck crunch down. Neck is still nice and long. Little baby back bend here, and then release. And we'll come back one more time. We're going to face forward. So inhale, fingers up. Exhale, reaching toward the toes. And this time, be more mindful of inhaling your spine, checking in that your spine is nice and long, and exhale a little bit closer. I was talking last time, so I distracted you. And release. And we'll come back and we're going to do the same thing. Our hands behind the back, but we're going to do a little, like a reverse plank. That's the word. I got it. I can speak real good. Okay. Pressing through the heels, activating the legs. Now your knees may be bent or they might be straight, but just pay attention to hyperextending those knees. So the legs have to be active. Pressing through the hands, just like what we did before. Hips come up, chin up toward the ceiling. Now, if this is too much for you, you can always put a block underneath your hips to help support. Otherwise, let's stay here for about 2 breaths. Okay, maybe 3. And release. Okay, sweet. All right, let's bring the feet in together. We'll do a little cobbler's pose. And as always, I invite you to flap your butterfly wings. If that just wake up those hips. So what I may not have said before was I hiked up, and it was a 3-mile hike up, and I guess it's a 3-mile hike down too, 3-mile hike up. And then I decided to trail run down, and so 3 miles down. My hips are very angry with me at the moment, but it's okay. We're going to fix it. Okay, so now I'm calming my butterfly wings, really finding my sit bones grounding into the mat and finding my spine nice and long. And from here, just like what we were doing before, every time we inhale, just become mindful and aware of our spine. Is it crunching? Or are we still nice and tall? And then as we exhale, just barely leaning forward a little bit. Each exhale, micro bend. So this is a nice post hike, regardless of even if whether or not you did any of my other videos. You can, of course, just do this anytime you went on a run too. Whatever is going to work. Okay, now from here, we're going to roll into a neutral tabletop. And so find your way in neutral tabletop. And I know we normally do cat-cow at the beginning, but why not do it now, right? So following your way into that mindful movement of cat-cow, stretching the back. So if you are like me when I'm hiking, I feel like it's an all-body workout. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I like to stretch out my back, especially after hiking. Okay, and then we're going to do a little balance work here. So coming back to a neutral. I'm going to put my weight on both of my hands, really feeling the weight in the palms and in the fingers. And the weight transfers also into my left knee and the top of my left foot. Don't let the knee do all the work. And I'm going to stretch my right foot back. Give myself a nice little stretch here in the calf. Okay, now transition my weight back more on the hands than on the calf. And we're going to try something. I'm going to put my weight on my right hand, but on my left knee. Inhale my right heel up and then bend the knee so that the heel comes in toward the hip. You can stay right here, and this is good. You're still stretching the outer hip, a little bit of your glutes, but see if you can bring that left hand out and around and grab the top of your foot. You have to, spatial awareness is your challenge here. And if you can, then maybe you're just holding it here and maybe you're pulling in to stretch out the quad, or maybe you're kicking the foot out a little bit, but see what works for you. So you have variations, do what works for you. And release. Okay. back down into neutral, shake it out. If you want to, come up onto your knees, shake out those wrists, and come back down. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So now we're transitioning the weight. Really feel the weight through the fingers and the palms and onto the left knee and the left foot, and stretch that left leg out so that the toes are still on the mat. Heel is pressing away, and you may feel a little stretch. And then we'll do the same thing. We're going to rock back onto the hands. We're less stretching on the toes there. And inhale that left heel up, and then bend that left heel toward the hip. Again, you can stay right here. This is great. Or find your drishti, weight transfers to the left hand, reach the right hand out, and then very carefully bringing that right hand around to meet your foot. Where's my foot? There it is. Found it. And then again, maybe you're pulling that heel in toward your glute, or maybe you're kicking it out a little bit to get a little bit more of an upper body stretch as well. And release. Come back down, shake it out if you need to. We're going to do a little child pose. So knees as wide as the mat, toes together, send the hips back, reaching the fingers out in front of you. Ooh, and then maybe you'll get a calf cramp like I just had. Good times after a long hike. It really wasn't even that long of a hike. I think it was hot. So whenever it's hot out, make sure you drink extra water. And I went trail running. So there's that. Okay, we're going to roll out of our nice child pose, come back into a neutral table, curl the toes, and we're going to come into a down dog. Okay, so using that belly button to really send the hips nice and high. Maybe you pedal it out, or maybe you find stillness, pressing through the fingers, stretching the arms out, stretching that tops of the shoulders. And then we're going to do a little flow, chaturanga to up dog. So whatever works for you. You might follow me and just do a plank. So I'm going to shift using my belly button to really guide me into my plank. Have a nice strong plank. Take a nice deep breath here, inhaling and exhale. And you can lower the knees or do chaturanga to up dog, or lower all the way down. Maybe do a sphinx or a cobra. Stretching the spine away from the hips so we're not crunching the lower back. And lower down. And this time, we're going to come up to down dog, and then step into the center, crossing the legs, if this makes sense, and then come down to the seated position. If that makes sense, doesn't matter. Just find your way into a seated position. Okay. All right. And from here, I'm going to roll back and forth for a little bit, just to kind of stretch out the back. If this kind of stuff does not feel good for you, please don't do it. But for many of us, it feels good. So for those who it does feel good, I shouldn't say many, I just know some people feel. I get my back to pop a lot doing that. It feels good. Okay, on our next one, we're actually going to stretch our legs over. Ah. Now, if you need to, you can keep your legs straight up, but if you want to send those legs and back behind you, get a little stretch in the back of the body. You might have your feet on a block, or maybe they're just hanging out here and you're supporting your back with your hands. You should be supporting your hands, your back with your arms. A nice little stretch here. And release, slowly coming down vertebrae by vertebrae. And we're going to do a little supine work here. All right, so I'm going to keep my knees bent, feet are on the mat, and let's do a little windshield wiper action. Releasing tension in the hips and the lower back. And while we're here, really feel your spine pressing into the earth, feeling how grounded and supported you are by the earth. Okay, leave the left knee where it is, right ankle comes to left knee. Really be conscientious of tilting the right knee away, but not if it hurts. If you feel anything electrical or painful, stop immediately. All right, bring that left knee into the chest, interlace the fingers behind the thigh or over the chin. And then stretching that left leg out, left hand to the right knee, and gently guide over towards your mirror. No, guide over to the left, right hand goes to the right. A little gentle back bend or twist. And come back to center. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so right knee is bent, left ankle comes to the right knee. Press that left knee away, bring the left knee to you. And release, straightening out the right leg and then guiding the left knee over to the right. And then stretching my left hand out. You'll notice maybe one side is not as bendy as the other, and this side is always difficult for me. I don't know why. And release, coming back into center and bring those knees in, giving them a nice little hug. But see if you can transition into a happy baby. One last chance to really stretch out and open up the hips. And also, if you feel like rocking back and forth, good way to loosen up any tension in the lower back. The lower back does a lot of work for our stability. So you might find that when you go running or hiking or just on long walks, your lower back might hurt, especially if it's uneven. We just have to give it a little bit of love. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It just worked really hard for us today. Okay, and release. Now, here's where I will invite you to find your way into a Savasana. A Savasana is a wonderful way to ground yourself and to just feel that moment of peace. But for all intents and purposes for this video, I'm going to rock my way back up into a seated position and say, I really hope that you are getting out and having an opportunity to ground yourself in nature, however that might be, whether it's hiking, trail running, or just being outside. But find your way into nature, take a few breaths out there and reset. And remember that it is so beautiful out there. You just have to find it. All right. Let's go ahead and close out class together. Inhaling, arms up overhead, palms together. Exhale, hands to heart, bowing. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the mat again in the future. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Go out and hike.